Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Very good morning, beta. Good
Good
morning.
morning, ma'am.
And good morning, beta. And welcome to another session of this course. Quickly, you need to check whether the screen is visible or not.
Visible, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Just a second, beta. Just a second. Yes, beta. Kindly check whether the slides are visible to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, beta, if you find that in the middle of the class, if slides are not visible to you, you just need to unmute yourself and you can directly tell me that the slides are not visible, okay, instead of sending the messages. Because when I'm presenting the presentation, I won't be able to, see the screen, whether it is visible to you or not. So if you face any problem during the class, you just need to unmute yourself and you can directly say that, sorry, ma'am, but the slides are not visible. Okay, beta. So we are going to start with section B today. Section B deals with your second book, that is Prose for Young Learners. As I mentioned in the last lecture, that we have already completed your first book, that is Tales of Life, and we have done 5 stories, because Tales of Life is a collection of stories. And the second book, the title is Prose for Young Learners. This is a collection of essays. And today we are going to start with your first essay. The title is On Spendthrift. And this essay, it has been written by A.G. Gardiner, right? So this is the first lecture of section B. Okay. I think last Sunday we have already started with the introduction about the author, Alfred George Gardiner. His time period is from 2nd June 1865. This is the birth year, till 3rd of March 1946. This is the death year of Alfred George Gardiner. So this is the time period, and you can see there are some pictures that will show you his personality. As far as introduction is concerned, even last Sunday we discussed that he was a famous journalist, editor of newspapers, and in his writings you will find that he deals with gentle humor. Gentle humor means when the writer tries to add fun element in his essays or in his writings. And he was also one of the famous essayists of the time. Now, as a journalist, we find that his essays you will find very delightful, funny, or humorous. And he wrote under the pseudonym Alpha of the Plow. Pseudonym means a pen name, you can say, because most of the time the writers, they try to hide their identity. Writers जो होते हैं वो अपनी पर्सनल आइडेंटिटी को सीक्रेट रखने के लिए क्या यूज करते हैं, अपना पेन
मैम
नेम. यस बेटा.
मैम आपने पीपीटी ओपन की हुई है?
Yes beta, you are not able to
No, we are not able to see this.
okay, okay beta, just a minute. Yes, beta. Kindly check whether the screen is visible to you now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of A.G. Gardiner. Here we have just discussed that he was a famous journalist, editor of newspapers and magazines, and he deals with gentle humor or fun element in his writings. And he was one of the famous essayists as well. Now, as a journalist, we must know these points about him, that he wrote under the pseudonym. Pseudonym means pen name. His pen name was Alpha of the Plow, right? So writer most of the time, uh, if they want to, make their identity, if they want to make it a kind of secret, so they use different names in their writings, and that is called pseudonym or pen name of the writer. So A.G. Gardiner's pen name is Alpha of the Plow. And as a journalist, he started his career on the staff of Essex County Chronicle and rose to be the editor of the Daily News. So earlier he started as a very, at a very small scale, and then we find he became the editor of the Daily News in 1902. And he is well known for his reflective essays on contemporary life. Contemporary means the life or the society, uh, that society of A.G. Gardiner's time. So we are talking about that time period when he was alive. And for several biographical sketches means when you try to give a complete picture of some personality, some famous personality. So biography means when you provide a complete background or historical picture of some personality. And for 17 years, he was the editor of Daily News, as we have just mentioned. He received recognition for his services to journalism in 1915. So in 1902, right, he became the editor of this famous newspaper. But in 1915, we find that he was very recognized, he was very famous during that time. And even he was elected president of the Institute of Journalists. So that was his honor. Now, he deals with gentle humor or fun elements because in his essays or in his writing, you will find that these things are marked by a deep concern for fellow man. Fellow man means common people, common man, unobtrusive preaching, and gentle humor. Preaching means when you try to give some lesson. After reading his essay, you will find that A.G. Gardiner, he tries to teach you something, right? He guides you, he gives you moral lessons, and in a very funny manner, right? So he writes about very ordinary matters with an engaging dignity and charm. Dignity and charm means he deals with ordinary subject matters, with common subject matters, with a kind of respect. So that's all about the author. Overall, you can say that. So A.G. Gardiner, he was one of the most popular essayists of 20th century. So this is the title of the essay on Spendthrift. But before we begin this essay, you must need to understand the meaning of this term. Spendthrifts. Spendthrift is a person who spend money without thinking, right, or in a very careless manner. So spendthrift हम किनको बोलेंगे, जो spend करते हैं without even thinking that what will be the result of this spending. So this is the title, and it will teach you a lesson that limit your expenses according to your earnings. So this is very important lesson of life that A.G. Gardiner tries to teach you through this essay. Now, spendthrift, as you can see the picture, a person who doesn't want to save money. Spendthrift, they find pleasure in spending money in a very, careless manner, thoughtlessly. Now, introduction about the essay. So, this is a kind of very beautiful essay by this uh, essayist Gardiner. And you will find in this essay, A.J. Gardiner, he is describing two different types of characters or two different types of people that we normally find in society. On one side, there are people who doesn't have any kind of knowledge, right, about how to spend money in a very intelligent manner. So this is a kind of skill, right? बट आप देखोगे कि बहुत से ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको ये स्किल नहीं आती. कौन सी स्किल है ये? That how to spend money in a very intelligent manner. And on the other side, you will find people who doesn't want to spend money, right? So these people are called miser. And in this essay, you will find there is a sharp, we can say, contrast between these two characters, or there you will find some similarities as well between spendthrift and a miser. So spendthrift is a person who spend money thoughtlessly, carelessly, and miser is a person who doesn't want to spend money. Miser is a person who wants to collect or save as much money as they can. Okay, so these two types of characters are discussed in detail. A.G. Gardner tries to give you a clear picture about these two types of characters. So the message which the author wants to convey is that a person should take special care of his spendings. We must know the difference of our, earning and spending money. That is very important. We should try to save at least some money for the future use. This is the lesson or the teaching that he wants to convey. Now, so in this essay, you will find A.G. Gardiner clearly demarcates between these two types of people. Demarcates means he clearly differentiates between miser and a spendthrift. So, I have already described that miser is a person who feels that he would prefer to die rather than spend a money. So, that sort of character. ऐसे लोग जो बिल्कुल अपनी जो बेसिक नीड्स हैं उसके लिए भी रेडी नहीं होते टू स्पेंड मनी, राइट? सो माइजर इज अ सोल ऑफ selfishness. Miser people, they are very selfish, and spendthrift is just the opposite of this. Spendthrift people कैसे होते हैं? Very generous, very kind, very good natured, and these people are known for spending where it is least required. मतलब जहां पे requirement भी नहीं है वहां पे भी आप देखोगे these people are spending money without thinking. Now, he clearly indicates that a spendthrift has absolutely no knowledge that what is the link between income and expenditure, right? So you should spend money according to your earning, according to your income. And Gardiner also cites numerous examples in this essay. In the text of this essay, you will find there are number of examples given by the author to convince the reader about this concept. Which concept A.G. Gardiner wants to teach you? The concept is watch your spendings, right? Which means think before you spend money. In the end, he will suggest you how people should follow the example of a laborer to keep a close look at the spending, because there is one fine example at the end of the essay the author gives you, right? लास्ट जो एग्जाम्पल है दैट एग्जाम्पल इज अबाउट अ लेबरर. और वो जो लेबरर है वो अगर ही स्पेंड इवन लिटिल अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, अ वेरी स्मॉल अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, दैट लेबरर नोट डाउन दैट पॉइंट इन हिज पॉकेट डायरी, इन हिज पॉकेट बुक. तो वो जो लेबरर है वो अपनी छोटी छोटी स्पेंडिंग्स को भी नोट डाउन करता है, राइट? इट मीन्स that is the fine example, that is the perfect example that A.G. Gardiner tries to give you, right? So we must not follow the example of a spendthrift or a miser. No, right? We must follow the example of that laborer. We must know the income, and we should spend according to our income or the earning. And the laborer was a very poor man who was traveling by a tram. Tram means a public vehicle. Just as he paid the fare, he made a note in his notebook. तो जैसे ही वहां पे वो अपना पे करता है फेयर ऑफ दैट पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट, he made a note. He note down that thing in his diary or in his notebook. So this is a very good way of recording one's spendings. Now, essay begins with the very first example, that is of Lady Ida Sitwell. This is the first character. Lady Ida Sitwell, she is the main character of this essay, right? And she belongs to an upper class society. Upper class society means she belongs to a rich family, wealthy family, and definitely she leads the life of luxury. Life of luxury means because she belongs to the upper strata of society, so definitely she has lots of money and she spends carelessly. The people of society agreed that she must be sent to prison. She must be sent to jail. Why? What is the reason? Because she is a spendthrift. She doesn't know how to spend money. So definitely, if she will be sent to jail, she will be punished. That thing will help her in becoming regular in life. Why? Because prison life or jail life will teach her discipline. That is missing in her life. Discipline is very important. Balance is very important in your life, right? Many other people don't like this idea to send her to jail. Why? Because they have pity for her, they have sympathy for her. But writer is sure that her punishment is just what she needs. But according to writer, अगर लेडी एडा सिटवेल को अपनी पर्सनैलिटी में चेंज लेके आना है, डेफिनेटली उसको क्या करना पड़ेगा? शी हैज टू यू नो फेस द प्रिजन लाइफ, द जेल लाइफ. बिकॉज ये जो लाइफ है, डेफिनेटली दिस लाइफ विल टीच हर डिसिप्लिन. Then she'll get to know how to earn money and how to spend money in a very intelligent manner. Such punishment teaches a good lesson to those people who lead life of luxury, who waste their money unnecessarily. Right? जहां पे रिक्वायरमेंट भी नहीं है, वहां पे भी वो लोग क्या करते हैं? They waste their money. So author tries to teach those people a lesson through the examples. First by Lady Ida Sitwell, then uh, you see that spendthrift is a kind-hearted person, while miser is a selfish, right? This is a very important quotation from this essay. Why spendthrift is a generous person? Because spendthrift, they spend money even on their friends, on their relatives. So all the people, they feel that this person is very kind. While on the other side, miser is selfish. Why? Because miser people, they don't waste their money, right? And if you don't spend money on your friends, definitely your friends will feel that this person is not kind, right? This is the general conception in society. People who don't waste their money, we call them miser. हम उनको miser बोलते हैं. That these people, they are very they are not very kind, they are not very generous. A spendthrift is a person who spends money unnecessarily. Even such a person spends too much money without taking into consideration what his income is. तो जो spendthrift people होते हैं, वो अपनी income को भी नहीं देखते, right? So definitely अगर income के accordingly spend नहीं किया है, तो you will fail to make both ends meet. आपकी life में balance खत्म हो जाएगा, right? So the habit makes him popular among friends. ऐसे लोग no doubt अपने friend circle में बहुत famous होते हैं, who, right? But he has too many friends, but he is selfish. Even spendthrift is a selfish person. अब वो कैसे selfish है? Because he loves spending money. He enjoys, he is getting pleasure by spending money. राइट और जब आप अपने एंजॉयमेंट के लिए अपने प्लेजर के लिए कोई काम करते हैं दैट इज सेल्फिशनेस. तो माइजर्स तो सेल्फिश है बट स्पेंडथ्रिफ्ट भी सेल्फिश है. कैसे? बिकॉज दे स्पेंड मनी जस्ट फॉर देयर सेल्फ एंजॉयमेंट. इट इज द मैटर ऑफ सेल्फिश सेटिस्फेक्शन फॉर हिम. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू ऑथर बोथ spendthrift and miser, both of them they get selfish, they are very selfish people, right? Now after Lady Ida Sitwell, second example is Joan's young wife. That lady, she's a very charming, very beautiful lady, and she is dragging her husband to debt. What is the reason? The reason is with her kittenish irresponsibility. Kittenish irresponsibility means she spends money carelessly. She doesn't have that, responsible attitude in her life. And whenever she goes to market, she tells her husband that she is going to buy some pins. But will come back with a request of $100 for some perfectly loving thing that has caught her eye. And because of her beauty, James has not the courage to say no. Jones, right? So Jones कभी भी उसको मना नहीं करता है to spend money and fulfill all her desire. And that lady, she carelessly spent all his income, by which he was buried under debt because he has not the courage to say no to his wife. Definitely he has to borrow money from his friends or family members. तो उसको वहां से borrow करना पड़ रहा है. Why? Because that lady, she is a very careless about this matter. She doesn't know how to spend money. Now, then the author points out many common points between these two characters. Common points कौन से हैं? Similar points कौन से हैं? That both are selfish in their own way. The point that I have just mentioned. दोनों selfish हैं. Why? Because दोनों के दोनों क्या करते हैं? अपने pleasure के लिए, अपनी satisfaction के लिए they are doing things. Spendthrift, they get pleasure in spending money, and miser, they get pleasure in saving money, right? In collecting money. So both of them, they are selfish. And just to illustrate this point, A.G. Gardiner gives a very fine example of a miser who was an old man. Now, after providing two examples of spendthrift, one is Lady Ida Sitwell, second is Joan's young wife. Next example is of a miser. अब जो author है आपको एक miser की example देता है, who was an old man, and that person believed in collecting more and more money. Why? Because that old man, he was a miser. And once somebody asked him why he was so anxious to increase his money. तो कोई उससे क्वेश्चन पूछता है that all the time you think about saving money, you think about collecting money. Why? Which his son would probably spend कि तुम इतना पैसा सेव कर रहे हो जबकि your son will definitely waste your money. And the answer, the reply is the old man, he replied that he would not mind if his son gets so much pleasure in spending money as he got in accumulating. Accumulating means वो कहता है कि जितना मुझे pleasure, जितना मुझे एक तरह से वो pleasant attitude मुझे वो feel हुआ है in collecting money, saving money, definitely अगर same pleasure my son will get while spending money, that I don't mind, right? That I have no problem. So this is how the author tries to give you the clear picture about selfish pleasure of miser and spendthrift, right? So that is the common point between them. So only this point is similar, that these two people, they are selfish, right? On their different levels. While all the other points, they are different. स्पेंडथ्रिफ्ट और माइजन में सारे के सारे पॉइंट्स आपको डिफरेंट मिलेंगे बट एक ही पॉइंट सिमिलर है, दैट इज दैट बोथ दीज पीपल दे आर सेल्फिश. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज आफ्टर द स्पेंडथ्रिफ्ट author has reflected image of miser. There is one person, there is one more example of a person who loves to save money but hates to spend it. And that person is a very rich old man who died by walking in the rain. Why? Because he doesn't want to waste his money by taking a cab. So this is a kind of clarity about the concept of a miser. माइजर कौन होते हैं? ऐसे लोग जो जहां पे बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स भी हैं, इवन एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम दे लाइक टू सेव मनी, राइट? सो वो जो ओल्ड मैन है, ही दैट पर्सन डाइड बाय वॉकिंग इन रेन. व्हाई? बिकॉज वो पैसा वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहता था, तो टू टेक अ कैब. देयर इज वन मोर एग्जांपल whose name is Elvis. Elvis died. Sorry, this is the same example. So that old man, his name is Elvis, who died by getting wet in rain. Okay. Now, next example, laborer. So this is the last example of this essay, and this is a kind of a perfect example given to us by author. Laborer in the tram on the embankment, carrying his kit in a handkerchief. So we find that once the author he saw a laborer, after paying his fare, he took a pocketbook out of his pocket and he wrote down something. And that which indicates that he wrote his small to small earning in a book. That person, that laborer, अब आप उसको किस कैटेगरी में फिट करोगे? दैट पर्सन इज नॉट अ स्पेंडथ्रिफ्ट क्योंकि वो पैसा वेस्ट नहीं कर रहा है, बट दैट पर्सन इज नॉट अ माइजर एज वेल. वो माइजर भी नहीं है. क्यों? क्योंकि वो अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट पे ही इज यूजिंग हिज मनी, right? He's not wasting his money, but he is spending his money in a very intelligent manner. So that person is a perfect example that how you can make a kind of balance in your life between your income and spending. That's a kind of skill that we must acquire. So this is the final lesson. This is the final teaching. So he taught us the lesson of watch your spendings. Right? For why? Because people who are more concerned about getting money than about how they spend it, who come to grief. So spendthrift is buried under debt. He got imprisonment, he got punishment. But miser, they died by not spending money in need. So both of these characters, they suffer in life because of their attitudes, because of their selfish attitude. Because these two types of people, they are not ready to change their behavior. And the only person who is happily living in this world, that person is one who knows to maintain a balance between getting and spending money wisely. Right? So this is the teaching of this essay. And present scenario is people have learned the art of getting money. We know how to earn money, but we don't know how to spend it. But we should learn the value of money that we should use wisely in need. Right? कहाँ पे हमें spend करना चाहिए? Only where we require to spend. They should maintain a proper budget to spend money, to fulfill your desires, but also learn to save it for future emergencies. So we should try to become like the laborer and keep balance in our life between income and spending. Clear? So now the language, style, and diction of the essay. Style means style of writing used by A.G. Gardiner, and diction means choice of words, choice of vocabulary. So as I mentioned in the beginning that this essay, it starts on an abrupt note. Abrupt note means in a very different manner you will find the essay begins by citing an example of Lady Ada Sitwell. And the beginning of the essay was like, Lady Ida Sitwell, she deserves 3 years, 3 months imprisonment. क्यों वो डिजर्व करती है? Because she is a spendthrift. She must know the basic lesson of discipline in her life. That was the beginning of the essay. And the essay moves ahead. The author uses a conversational tone. Conversational tone means it's a kind of, interaction. It's a kind of conversation, a kind of dialogue between two people. So when you read this essay, the text of it is this essay, you will find the author is directly talking to you to explain the characteristics of a miser and also of a spendthrift. तो आपको ऐसा feel होगा that author directly आपसे बात कर रहा है. That is a kind of conversational tone. That it's a kind of dialogue between two people. Now, the author has pinpointed his message at several points in the chapter. Even beginning में भी वो अपनी purpose को बताता है. What is the purpose of writing this essay? He gives the example of, a laborer who was a very careful man. Then, just as he paid the fare of tram, he made note in his notebook. So, according to author, that is the best example. And we need to follow this example, and we must know how to spend money in a very thoughtful manner, right? So definitely after reading this essay, you will come to know that even we should remember this, particular concept. We must know this skill. The skill is watch your spendings. We must know this kind of balance, how to maintain balance in your life. Okay, beta. So that's all about this essay. Shall we move on to the next essay? If you have no doubt in this. Yes, beta. Shall we move on to the next topic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, beta.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, beta.
Can you please tell the way of writing this essay in the paper?
Yes, beta. That is the style of writing. I have just mentioned that the author has used conversational style of writing. It's a kind of dialogue between. You feel that it's a kind of dialogue between the author and the reader as well.
Okay, ma'am.
Clear? And the very important question from exam point of view is the character description provided by the author in this essay. So this is a very important question from exam point of view, that you need to describe the character differences between a miser and a spendthrift.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, beta. Okay, beta. I hope the slides are visible to you now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next chapter. This is lecture 2 of section B, Prose for Young Learners. This is the second essay from the book. The title of the essay is The Power of Women. And this essay it has been written by Richard Gordon. This is the picture of the author. Now, a brief introduction about him. Richard Gordon, he is the pen name used by Gordon Ostrello. So, as we discussed in the previous essay, the pen name of used by the author That pen name was Alpha of the Plow. And here we find that the pen name of Gordon Osteller, it is Richard Gordon, right? So pen name is the pseudonym or the name used by the authors to make their identity, to hide their identity, to make it a secret. So as Richard Gordon has written several novels, screenplays for film and television, so he's a very famous personality during his time. He accounts of popular essay mostly dealing with the practice of medicine, right? So mostly you will find his essay, they deal with medicine. He is most famous for a long series of comic novels. Even you will find Richard Gordon, he deals with a kind of fun element through his writings. So his famous novel, Doctor in the House, and their film, television, and stage adaptation. So all the writings he has used common theme, and that theme is from medical, right? Medicine or from medical point of view. And his alarming essay of medicine, it was published in 1993. So this was a kind of short introduction about the author. Right? He was the author of Doctor in the House. This is another famous book. And the present essay, it has been taken from the book Author in the House. Okay, as the very name suggests, the title of the essay is Power of Women. In this essay, you will find there is one character whose name is Grimsdyke, right? He is the main character of this essay. The essay revolves around him, clear? And that person, his life was deeply, influenced by two ladies. On one side, his grandmother, and on other side, his lady love, right? So with the course of this essay, we'll come to know the difference between these two types of influences. So at the beginning of October, 30 new students, they gathered at St. Swithin's Hospital Medical School, London. This is the beginning of the essay, right? So that medical school, new students, they gathered. Why they gathered? Because they are expecting a lecture of introduction by the dean, right? So directly these new students, they went to the lecture theater, they went to the lecture hall where dean was to deliver his lecture of welcome and introduction. So that is the beginning of this essay. Now the writer, Richard Gordon, he occupied a back seat. He had a look at other students. Then a person entered and asked the writer to give him also a seat. So at the beginning of essay, you will find there is a kind of beginning of a new session, right? And that at the beginning of new session, we find that lots of new students, they entered the school, right? And they are expecting a kind of welcome or introduction lecture by the dean. And writer is one of them. Writer is the newcomer in that school, right? So in that hall, when writer was waiting for the introductory lesson, introductory speech from the dean, right? Writer, he occupied a back seat and very minutely वो ऑब्जर्व करता है अपने सराउंडिंग्स को. अब एज अ न्यू स्टूडेंट जब आप एंटर करते हो कॉलेज में या किसी स्कूल में, डेफिनेटली आप वहां पे पहले ऑब्जर्व करते हो सराउंडिंग्स को. सेम इज द केस विद द राइटर, राइट? तो राइटर ऑब्जर्व करता है दैट लॉट्स ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स, some students, they are sitting all alone, right? And there are some students who are sitting in a kind of group and they are having a kind of conversation. कुछ स्टूडेंट्स ग्रुप्स में बैठे हैं, मे बी उनके फ्रेंड्स उनके साथ हैं, दे आर इंटरेक्टिंग, दे आर लाफिंग, दे आर टॉकिंग. बट देयर आर सम स्टूडेंट्स हु आर सिटिंग अलोन. कुछ स्टूडेंट्स वहां पे अकेले बैठे हैं, दे डोंट हैव एनीवन टू टॉक. एंड राइटर is sitting in the back seat. So he had a look at other students. and suddenly he find a person entered. वहां पे कोई आता है, right? Or he was a very tall, good looking young man with thick black hair and a small mustache. So that is the appearance of Grimsdyke, because that person is Grimsdyke, who is the major character of this essay. तो राइटर उसको डिस्क्राइब करता है उसकी अपीयरेंस को. दैट पर्सन ग्रिम्सडाइक हैड अ पॉलिश्ड ब्लैक वॉकिंग स्टिक. उसके पास एक वॉकिंग स्टिक है. ही टुक आउट अ मोनोकल. मोनोकल इज अ काइंड ऑफ सिंगल आई ग्लास. जैसे हम स्पेक्स लगाते हैं वैसे एक सिंगल आई ग्लास होता है. तो दैट पर्सन ही इज यूजिंग दैट मोनोकल एंड लुक्ड एट द स्टूडेंट्स अराउंड हिम. वो पर्सन भी आके ऑब्जर्व करते हैं अराउंड द स्टूडेंट्स हु आर सिटिंग. Then finally the dean came. The dean means the head of that school or college. He was late by half an hour and was in a great hurry. He briefly welcomed the newcomers, वो briefly welcome करता है, and he quickly makes some remarks about his, uh, you know, uh, the rules, regulations, tradition, or ethics of medical profession, because that is medical school. तो डीन ऑब्वियसली अपने मेडिकल प्रोफेशन को, अपने स्कूल के रूल्स रेगुलेशंस को डिस्क्राइब करेगा थ्रू द इंट्रोडक्शन. सो दैट पर्सन डीन ही टुक ओनली 17 मिनट्स इन डिलीवरिंग द स्पीच. द स्टूडेंट नेक्स्ट टू द राइटर हु इज ग्रिम्सडाइक, वो ग्रिम्सडाइक क्या रिमार्क देता है दैट द डीन हैड कट 3 मिनट्स. इट मींस ग्रिम्सडाइक ऑलरेडी न्यू, right, that dean he had to deliver 20-minute speech. 20 मिनट की जगह में अभी 17 मिनट की स्पीच होती है. एंड वो क्या रिमार्क देता है दैट ही हैज कट शॉर्ट हिज स्पीच 3 मिनट्स. एंड हिज एड्रेस यूज्ड टू लास्ट फॉर 20 मिनट्स, बट दिस टाइम ही हैड फिनिश्ड इन 17 मिनट्स. And Grimsdyke told the writer that it was the fourth time he had heard him. Right? So this is the fourth time he is, hearing that welcome speech, introduction speech. What does it mean? इसका मीनिंग ये है कि whether Grimsdyke is already familiar with all these things. For the past 4 years, he is in this school, right? But author was very shocked or surprised to know that Grimsdyke, he is not only in the same school, but he is in the same class for the past 4 years. Right? Further, वो क्या add करता है that he was not senior to any one of those present. He had earlier managed to remain in the same class. मतलब उसने बहुत मुश्किल से manage किया है to remain in the same class. और कैसे manage हो सकता है? He said that his name was Grimsdyke. His grandmother was a well-to-do lady. So Grimsdyke's grandmother, she was a very rich lady and she wanted somebody in the family to be a doctor. और उसकी grandmother की एक desire थी उसकी last की, that was her last wish कि उसकी family में कोई doctor होना चाहिए. And she wrote a will. यहाँ पे will का मतलब क्या है? वसीयत. Right? So she wrote a will in which she said Grimsdyke should be paid all the expenses of his medical education. कि उसकी जो भी मेडिकल एजुकेशन है उसके सारे एक्सपेंसेस कौन पे करेगा? According to the will, that grandmother. She has made a kind of provision in that will that annually Grimsdyke will get this much money to pursue his medical profession, to pursue his medical education. So Grimsdyke thought that he had an excellent opportunity to lead a comfortable life. तो Grimsdyke को लगता है कि annually, जब तक उसकी वो medical study complete नहीं होती है, उसको annually एक fixed amount of money he is getting according to that will जो उसकी grandmother ने अपने at the time of her death she has mentioned. तो Grimsdyke realized this golden opportunity कि मैं अपनी लाइफ को कंफर्टेबली आई कैन स्पेंड माई लाइफ, आई नीड नॉट टू वर्क एनीवेयर. So he managed to fail every year. So that was the reason that he is still in the same class for the past 4 years. right? So वो manage कर रहा है, manage to fail exams. He was working hard to fail exams. That was a kind of planning. So about the time that the writer joined the medical school, Grimstake fell in love with a girl and he proposed to her. But that girl, she was very intelligent and she was very smart, very clever. She agreed to marry him, right? She accepted the proposal, but there was one condition. She agreed to marry him provided he became regular in attending the medical school and passed the examination. So that was the condition of that girl, that okay, I will accept your proposal, I'll marry you, but I will marry a doctor, not a student, right? So that's how he bought some books and he studied hard to pass the examination. Clear? And Grimsdyke, he said, the writer, that it was the power of women that made men climb mountains, fight wars, go to work, and get ready to do any unpleasant work. These are the exact words of the text. This is a kind of quotation that you can add in your answer, right, to get good marks, right? This is a fine example of the thinking of the Grimsdyke, the main character of this essay. ग्रिम्सटाइक के क्या पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है? उसका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू क्या है? दैट इट इज ओनली फॉर women that men climb mountains, they can do any unpleasant work just to make the lady happy. So it was at first his grandmother's money, his grandmother's will that made him fail in the examination, because usko lagta hai that I am having a very comfortable life in that school. I need to work anywhere. Annually, I'm getting money, so I can live my life like this. But later on, when he fell in love with a lady, it was the power of his fiancée that he had to work hard to pass the examination. And one thing is missing in this essay. What is that? There is no choice of Grimsdyke. उसके पास कोई choice नहीं है. He is under influence of these two ladies. So that is the power of women. So the title of the essay is quite appropriate and significant, right? Because throughout the essay you will find we are discussing only this thing, how his life was deeply influenced by these two ladies. On one side his grandmother and on the other side his fiance or lady love. Okay, so that's all about this essay. There are certain questions with their answers. You can read these question answers. These are the important points you can note down. Okay, beta. So that's all from my side today. Is there any question?
Can you please send this PPT?
Sorry, beta. Kindly unmute yourself. You are not audible.
Can you please send this PPT in WhatsApp group?
Yes, beta. Sure. I'll send the presentations in the WhatsApp group.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
beta.
you.
Okay. Don't leave the class. Just let me mark your attendance.
मैम
Yes, beta.
जो असाइनमेंट बनानी है वो उस पेज पे बनानी है ना जो एक तरफ प्लेन होता है दूसरी तरफ लाइंस वाला होता है.
No issue, beta. You can use any page.
ओके मैम. और
राइट,
फर्स्ट
सिंपल
पेज
असाइनमेंट
डेकोरेट करना
शीट्स
है
भी आप यूज कर सकते हो. इट इज अप टू यू.
तो मैम ऊपर कोड लिखना है जो ऊपर आपने असाइनमेंट भेजी थी ना.
यस बेटा.
हेडिंग क्या लिखनी है उसके ऊपर?
बेटा जो भी आपका पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट है उसका कोड है, यू नीड टू मेंशन ऑल द डिटेल्स.
ओके, तो फर्स्ट पेज डेकोरेशन करना है ना अकेला?
यस बेटा.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू.
मैम मैं व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में ऐड नहीं हूँ, मुझे भी ऐड कर लीजिए.
बेटा we don't have this authority. We cannot add you in the WhatsApp group. If you have any kind of issue, right, you can talk to ODL office, beta.
ओके मैम।
या तो आप मेल कर सकते हो या हमसे डायरेक्टली कांटेक्ट कर सकते हो, ठीक है? Okay, beta. That's all from my side. See you in the next lecture. Till then, take care. Bye bye.
Okay, ma'am. Have a nice day.